Hey everyone, I'm Steve Brown with That's My Railroad, and sometimes I get sidetracked. Hey, welcome to Sidetracked. This is the place we keep the stuff that doesn't exactly fit in with one of our project builds, but we wanted to share it with you anyway. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. Back when we were doing the demolition to make room for the new logging camp, we pulled out the sawmill that used to be right here. That sawmill had a turnout and a spur that fed it that were also removed, and then we pieced in a little 6-inch piece of track there where the turnout used to be. Since then I've gone through and I've ballasted it and I've finished it up and whatnot, and then it was occurring to me the other day that I haven't really shown anybody yet how we ballast our rails on the Brownsmith Railroad. Now everywhere I look I see ballasted rails. The only place there isn't ballasted rails is up here in the logging camp. So what we're going to do today is take just a couple of minutes, go back to that little 6-inch piece of track that we did, and I'm going to show you how I ballasted it. Now, we're going to use the Woodland Scenics Fine Ballast. It's gray. This is the smallest stuff I could find. It's an in-scale railroad, and I still try to be somewhat prototypical when I do things. So that's why I'm using this. Different schools of thought about ballast. I'll put some links down there to some other guys who do a pretty good job with ballasting to help round out your understanding of ballast and the kind of products we use and stuff. But for now, why don't we just come on in and take a look at ballasting this little piece of rail. All right, so ballasting track on the BSR really isn't that complicated. So what I'm doing here is I got a spoon, a regular spoon, and put some ballast in it and just sort of start sprinkling it on there all the way down. Like that, and if it looks like I got enough, that's cool. Then we'll go ahead and take the old ballast spreading brush, which by the way is just a paintbrush, and just start gently working that ballast in, trying to keep it ultimately off the tops of the ties. It looks a little bit more real that way, and it works a lot better too. And then come through and grab the sides by grading it with the brush. Kind of like that. Looks like we got too much up in here. I just keep working it back and forth until, again, like most things on the BSR, I just keep working it till I like it. I think we need more ballast back in here, frankly. So I'll just go grab a little bit more. Well, I think, well, okay. A little crazy on that one. But since both sides of this are already ballasted over here and over here, what I'll do is I'll just push any of the excess off into that area where we're not going to put any glue and just vacuum it up later. I try to make sure that none of the roadbed underneath shows. It's really difficult back in this little canyon area to get this to be super straight. By the way, I try to get the edges to line up parallel, because if they graded this out, right? Other than the elements moving some of it around, I think it would be pretty stable. That's the whole idea behind ballast. All right. Now in this particular case, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add dirt back in here. So I'm not too concerned about getting back in there with it. I mostly just want to blend this in with what was there before, and then make sure I don't have any on top of the ties or in the webs of the rails. Kind of like that. That's ballast. Well, of course we're not done yet because we haven't glued it down. So let's get the glue out here right now. Okay, we're not going to need a whole lot, so I just have a little bit of water in this little cup right here, which is probably actually too much water. You take the white glue. We mix in, some guys will put 50-50 glue water, some guys will do more or less. You know, I eyeball it. Just like everything else on this glorious railroad of mine, I just sort of eyeball it. And I mix it up until it looks like that. It's like watery glue. That works for me. Alright, so just ahead of putting that glue on, we take some isopropyl alcohol and run it along the rails to start soaking that ballast. Now here's what happens. This alcohol is going to break the surface tension of the ballast. And I don't really know what that means, but I'll tell you the effect. If I just put glue on there right now, it just wants to sit on top of the ballast. So this alcohol treatment gets down in the ballast and allows then our glue mixture to just follow it on down. So we get it nice and wet through here. And then we notice that our isopropyl alcohol just washed off some of the ballast. Good times were had by all. We need a smidge more ballast then. I can't wipe it around now because it's wet. Sprinkle that on there like that. And then just sort of try to work it with my finger a little bit. And just say that the ballast right there is just a little thicker than it is in some other areas. Okay, and now for the glue. Basically the water glue solution follows the same pattern. See all that white there? That's a lot of glue going down into there. Should hold it down really nicely by the time it dries. It's worked everywhere else. And there we go. Well, there you go. That's how we ballast our rails here on the old Brownsmith Railroad. Hey, make sure you like and share this video with someone, will you? Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And until next time, rail on, my friends.